What's up, everybody? It's Make It Make Sense. Sorry, I'm a little bit late, but the streaming software is down, so we're having to do this old school. So I need you guys to let me know if you can hear me. Let's start there. Can you guys hear me well enough? Let's see. I'm looking at the chat. Can you guys hear me? Guys, I can't see the comment section, so let me go here. Somebody said, don't make a fool out of us. Let's see. Um, Guys, can you hear me? That's what I need to know. Let's see. Okay, perfect. This is so hard doing this without my streaming service. So, okay, now that y'all can hear, like the video's the intro plays, we have a lot to get into, and this is breaking news. This is so hard.
Make it make sense.
Make it make sense to me intellectually.
Make it make sense. You know what was up.
Big moves.
Surfer.
Make it make sense. Tell me how you squeeze it. Make it make sense. Tell me about the things that you see. Make it make sense. Tell me about the things of your dreams. Hey, let me work out all the things in between. Make it make sense. Tell me how you squeeze it. Make it make sense. Tell me about the things that you see. Make it make sense. Tell me about the things of your dreams. Hey, let me work out all the things.
Your name is right now, bad boy. Love. Well, we about to make love. And then we gonna change your name back to Diddy. Cause then we gonna Diddy. Then we gonna change your name back to Puffy. Cause that's what you gonna be when we done Diddy.
I like that.
Hold on, wait, you ain't supposed to like it. It's,
I like what you're talking about.
I don't like it if you
I hate
like it.
scrambling and scraping.
Hey,
That's a lot. I like that. I like you.
guard?
I ain't locked in here with you, playboy. You locked in here with me.
Hey, no Diddy, bro.
And grab that baby roll over there and lather up.
Lather up.
Thought I told you that. We
Hey,
won't
nah,
stop.
man, hold
Thought I
on.
told you.
Again, guys, this is breaking news. TMZ hasn't even got this. So this is literally breaking news. It's being broke on YouTube, which doesn't normally happen. Anyway, I'm not going to be able to show you guys the lawsuit like I normally do because, again, this is not my normal streaming software. So I apologize in advance. I know some of you guys like to read along. This was filed today. It says plaintiff Delia Graves, in and around summer of 2001, plaintiff's life was violently knocked off course when defendants Sean Combs and Joseph Sherman viciously R-worded her at the Bad Boy Record Studio in New York City. Plaintiff was 25 at the time and dating one of Combs' employees, a relationship that Combs exploited to lure plaintiff into meeting him and Sherman alone. Now, guys, I've already talked to you about how Diddy seemingly likes to go after women who other men have been with, especially men that he knows or his enemies. It's kind of weird, but that's his thing. Once they successfully sequestered plaintiffs, Combs and Sherman gave plaintiff a drink, likely laced with the drug that eventually caused her briefly to lose consciousness. Trigger warning. We're going through the whole lawsuit, so trigger warning. She awoke to find herself bound and restrained. Combs and Sherman proceeded to brutally abuse and violate plaintiff. Combs mercilessly R-worded her from the back and the front. Certain words I can't say on YouTube, so from the back and the front. Sherman forcefully slammed plaintiff onto a table, slapped her, and repeatedly thrust his man part into her mouth. Both men were undeterred by plaintiff's cries for help throughout the attack. Plaintiff never recovered from defendant's violent R word. She had thoughts of unaliving herself and has received extensive psychological treatment because of defendant's attack. For decades, she remained silent and did not report the crime out of fear that defendants would use their power to ruin her life, as they had repeatedly, explicitly threatened to do. To this day, plaintiff suffers from severe depression, anxiety, and panic attacks and still lives in fear of defendants. Any progress plaintiff has made in healing from the attack over the years was dramatically reversed on or around November 27, 2023, Cassie's lawsuit, when she learned for the first time that Combs and Sherman had video recorded the horrific R word 22 years before and had shown the video to multiple men, seeking to publicly degrade and humiliate plaintiff and her boyfriend. That is some dark. That's extremely dark. Plaintiff could not believe that defendants would record themselves committing such a gruesome crime and then proceed proudly and widely to disseminate the recording of it. She was distraught and sunk into a deep depression. She again considered ending her life. This action seeks redress for defendants' brutalizing, misogynistic, and violent attacks on plaintiffs, starting in 2001 with the R word and continuing in the subsequent years as they compounded her humiliation by showing the video of the assault to others. Guys, we have over 2,400 in the chat. Definitely hit that like button. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe. I just saw we hit 189,000 subscribers last night. So we're super close to 190, and our goal for the end of the year was 200,000. So I feel like it's still an attainable goal. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Plaintiff Thalia Graves is a female who resides in Harris County, Texas. Defendant Sean Combs is a male who, on information and belief, resides in Los Angeles. Let's see. Defendant Joseph Sherman, aka Big Joe, is a male who, on information and belief, resides in Westchester County, New York. On information and belief, Sherman was employed by Combs and/or by Combs Corporation during the relevant period. The fact of Combs' ownership and titles and Sherman's titles at the Combs Corporation enabled Sherman to commit the unlawful violence against plaintiff described herein and to harass, subsequently intimidate her into the silence of the R word. We don't need to talk about Daddy's house. We already know. Factual allegations. Plaintiff's family immigrated to New York City when Plaintiff was a teenager in connection with her mother's work. Her family ultimately settled in Rego Park, Queens, where she completed her education and where she was living when she met Combs. Defendant Combs, also known by his stage names Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, Brother Love, or Love, is a prominent rapper, record executive, and businessman. He rose to fame in the 1990s with his record label Bad Boy and continued to be a notable figure in the music and entertainment industry in the following years. Combs has continued to amass wealth and power through his business ventures in the music, fashion, fragrance, beverage marketing firm, and television media industries. The Bad Boy Enterprise is the foundation of Combs' wealth and power. Bad Boy has sold over 500 million records through its lucrative distribution deals with the top music companies in the world and has signed acclaimed hip hop and R&B artists including the Notorious B.I.G., Mary J. Blige, and Usher. Combs later founded Combs Enterprises, later rebranded as Combs Global, to serve as a home for his portfolio of businesses, including his investments in the music, fashion, fragrance, beverage, marketing, film, television, and media industries. On information and belief, Combs Global houses Bad Boy and other notable businesses such as Combs Fashion Line, Sean John, his vodka Ciroc, and his cable company, Revolt Media. Guys, we got over 3,000 in the chat. If you're just tuning in, this is breaking news. TMZ has not even broke this story. So when TMZ breaks it, go ahead and let them know that your boy broke the story. As detailed through 64, Combs has a long history of violence and of abusing and R-wording women, and there have been several civil lawsuits filed against Combs in the past year alleging violence and abuse. On September 16, 2024, Combs was arrested and charged with racketeering and sex trafficking. He was denied bail. Defendant Sherman, also known as Big Joe, was employed by Combs as his bodyguard and head of security during the relevant time period described herein and served in various roles in the Combs Corporation. Sherman is also the founder of Rhymes and Dimes Magazine, Inc., a New York State registered corporation, and through in connection with that company, produces and distributes, he distributes the P word. So him taking advantage of this woman and recording it and distributing it seems like it's right in his wheelhouse. Like he owns a pee company. Not the kind of pee that Diddy does on people, like literally videotapes and adult entertainment type stuff. On information and belief, he has often distributed videos and his or his friends' assaults through his pee company. Plaintiff met defendant Combs in or around late 1999 or early 2000 through her then boyfriend, who was an executive at Bad Boy. In addition to working together, which is so weird, I do not know. I can't seem to make the correlation. Maybe we'll talk to like a therapist about what that's about. I don't know if taking advantage of a woman from one of his employees or one of his enemies makes him feel like he's getting a piece of the man. I really don't know what that's about. But remember, Cassie was dating his other artist at the time, his artist and producer. So Plaintiff frequently visited her boyfriend at the Bad Boy Studio in New York City and attended events hosted at Combs' residences. Over time, Plaintiff became familiar with Combs and he knew about her relationship with her boyfriend. Defendant's trick, drug, and violent R word of plaintiff. In or around the summer of 2001, plaintiff received a call from Combs concerning her boyfriend's employment at Bad Boy. He told her he wanted to meet with her in person to discuss her boyfriend's supposed performance issues. Her boyfriend was determined to climb up the ladder at Combs Records label, and his romantic partner, plaintiff, was committed to helping him. Doesn't that sound kind of weird, y'all? He wanted to meet with his employee's girlfriend to discuss what her boyfriend wasn't doing well at work. In retrospect, it was evidently a sick and twisted way of using his ownership of and title at Bad Boy and its affiliate entities to abuse plaintiff and also show his power and ability to humiliate her boyfriend, his executive. A few hours later, Combs arrived at plaintiff's mother's residence in Queens with Sherman, who was employed by Combs and his bodyguard at the time. Sherman was driving an SUV and Combs was in the back seat. After plaintiff entered the vehicle, Combs offered her a glass of wine, which she accepted. Combs began discussing his alleged concerns about her boyfriend's performance at work. Meanwhile, as plaintiff drank what had been handed to her, she started to feel lightheaded, dizzy, and physically weak. In retrospect, it is clear that Combs had caused a drug to be put in plaintiff's drink, as a few sips of wine had never impacted her that way. Combs and Sherman drove plaintiff to the Bad Boy studio in Manhattan. When they arrived and plaintiff tried to get out of the car, she realized that she was feeling odd and found it difficult to walk. She assumed this was her fault and did her best to act normal and followed Combs as he led her eventually to a couch in a private room in the Bad Boy studio. She later came to understand that this was Combs' personal lounge and office at the Bad Boy studio. Combs sat on the couch next to Plaintiff and continued speaking to her. Plaintiff began feeling even more woozy and sedated. She then lost consciousness. When Plaintiff regained consciousness, she was unclothed and her hands were tied behind her back with what felt like a plastic grocery bag. Plaintiff shouted for help. In response, Sherman lifted her up from the couch and forcibly slammed her face down on what was apparently a pool table. Shortly thereafter, Combs entered the room unclothed. Combs reached for a container of lubricant that smelled like menthol and proceeded to apply it to his man part. He then bent plaintiff over the table, causing her feet to dangle above the floor, forcefully held her down, and penetrated her without consent through the back door. Plaintiff is 4 feet 11 inches tall and weighed only 103 pounds at the time. Plaintiff was unable to move, totally overpowered physically, in addition to being drugged and bound. Guys, we have almost 4,400 in the or we have almost 4,500 in the chat. Definitely hit that like button. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe. And I'm not able to see the comments because I'm not doing this from my streaming software, so I apologize. I see you guys. Again, something's going on with the streaming software, so I'm having to do this a different kind of way. Plaintiff screamed out in pain, but Combs continued to violently R-word her from the back. He easily physically overpowered her, smashing her head down on the pool table while she futilely tried to wriggle out from under him. During the brutal attack, Combs, oh my God, this is graphic. Trigger, okay. During the brutal attack, plaintiff vomited into her mouth on the table. At one point, she lost control of her bowels. Combs was undeterred. He wiped himself off, applied more lube, and without any acknowledgement of plaintiff's distress, proceeded to then go in through the front. Again, there's certain words I can't say, guys, for YouTube purposes. Plaintiff experienced intense pain and burning sensation in her front and back. Plaintiff continued to scream for help because of the extreme pain she felt as Combs penetrated her over and over. She then lost consciousness again. Let me stop here really quick and say, I'm disgusted with each one of these. The fact that these women and men have the amount of courage to continue to come forward and let the world know exactly what they went through is proof positive that that life sentence that they're saying Diddy might possibly get is a well-deserved one. And any jury who hears the testimony of all of these victims and would not throw the book at him needs their heads examined. This is disgusting. The next time she regained consciousness, plaintiff was on the couch and Sherman was standing in front of her with his bare man part in her face. Sherman slapped plaintiff in the face and forcibly inserted his man part into her mouth. Sherman slapped her yet again and continued to thrust his man part into her mouth. Plaintiff once again lost consciousness. Now, earlier in this complaint, she said that he owns a pea company and distributed this. So I don't know if that's like some dark web shit. I don't know. But if she's saying it and there's something distributed, then that means that maybe there's another tape that the feds got and went like maybe they went to the victim with this. Because for her to say that it was distributed means there's a tape that she's seen. When she next awoke, plaintiff was on the couch, unclothed and alone in a room. Plaintiff was in severe pain and distress. Her front and back burned. Her face and wrists were bruised, and her genital area smelled strongly of menthol. She felt a liquid, presumably Diddy juice, dripping out from inside her. Her dress was thrown over her. Her purse was on the couch next to her, and her bra was on the floor nearby. She did not see her underpants. Terrified that Combs and Sherman would return, plaintiff quickly got dressed and bolted out of the studio where she had been R-worded. Still dizzy and weak, plaintiff called a livery driver that her family regularly hired and knew well. The driver picked her up from outside Bad Boy Studio. She was disheveled, crying uncontrollably, and suffering from agonizing pain. The driver drove her to the hospital and tried to convince her to report the R word and get an R word kit, but she was unable to leave the car, shaking and crying hysterically, and terrified of what Combs would do to her and her family if she reported him. Now, the fact that she knows the driver, the fact that there's probably a log of where he picked her up from is proof. That's all she needs. The aftermath and impact of the R word on the plaintiff. Guys, we have like 6,000 in the chat. Definitely hit that like button. Again, this was breaking news. Anytime TMZ has not reported something, it's breaking news. Plaintiff sustained serious physical injuries in the aftermath of the R word. As noted, she had burning in her front and back and bruising on her wrist and face. In the days after the assault, she suffered prolonged bleeding and hemorrhoids. Damn. Because of Combs' power and notoriety, plaintiff was afraid to report what had happened. She was involved in a contentious divorce and custody battle at the time and feared that reporting the R word would cause her to lose custody of her young child. Plaintiff confided in her boyfriend, Combs' employee, hoping he would comfort her and support her. But instead of supporting her, he discouraged her from disclosing the assault, telling her that it could negatively impact his own career. What an ass. Following the assault and multiple times over the years, both Combs and Sherman contacted plaintiff and warned her to be silent, threatening repercussions, including plaintiff potentially losing custody of her son if she ever disclosed the assault. Because of their enormous power in the industry, including their ownership of and positions at the Combs Corporation, plaintiff knew they could follow through on their threats. Now, just a side note, in one of the last complaints that we heard, no, it wasn't a complaint, it was the bail hearing. They said that the hotel rooms would be disgusting. Hearing what this young lady went through, and now we kind of have a clear, vivid picture of what the maids and everybody else were having to clean up. This tells us exactly what goes on in Diddy's freak offs and why they have to have special people come in and clean. This man is disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Plaintiff told close friends that Combs and Sherman had drugged and savagely R-worded her, but as noted, was afraid to report the attack to the police out of fear the defendants would follow through on their threats. She was even afraid to stay in New York City while Combs lived there. So with the help of a friend, she fled to Pennsylvania. Plaintiff has in fact relocated multiple times throughout the years in an effort to stay away from Combs. Plaintiff has suffered irreparable harm because of the brutal R word by defendants Combs and Sherman. She suffers from severe depression and post traumatic stress disorder. She has also suffered thoughts of unaliving herself and intrusive thoughts and has attempted to end her life. Plaintiff lives in constant fear. She struggles with hypervigilance. Now, guys, I've talked to you. I also have hypervigilance. It's one of the things that, I go to therapy for. She struggles with hypervigilance and experiences anxiety and panic attacks in social settings, preferring to be alone. Her need to hide to feel safe has strained her relationships with friends and family. Defendant's R word has also impacted plaintiff's ability to engage in sexual acts with her intimate partners. To this day, she cannot be in certain positions without experiencing flashbacks of Combs violently R wording her from behind. Okay, plaintiff learns that the R word was videotaped and published. Guys, I don't know how many we have, how many likes we have, but this is breaking news. Definitely hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. We're actually super close to 190,000 subscribers. I think we're less than 1,000 away now. On or around November 27th, all the trauma of the R word came flooding back to plaintiff, where her former boyfriend revealed to her for the first time that Combs and Sherman had recorded and published the video of the horrific attack. Earlier this month, Cassie Ventura had come forward and filed a lawsuit against Combs for subjecting her to years of severe physical abuse. The case had been settled one day after it had been filed. Plaintiff's former boyfriend invoked Ms. Ventura's effort to hold Combs accountable and for the first time confessed that years earlier, but sometime after the actual R word itself, Sherman and Combs had shown him and a group of men, some of whom were also employed by Combs companies and their related entities, the video of plaintiff being I can't say the word, plaintiff being R-worded. He disclosed that Combs and Sherman had a pattern and practice of non-consensually recording women engaging in acts and making those videos available to the public, including by selling tapes of the assault. So imagine you work for somebody, whether you're doing a good job or not. The person and their goons call you into the office to show you a tape of your girlfriend being violated. Your girlfriend then comes to you and says, "This is what your boss did to me." And then you tell her, "Well, don't say anything to anybody because my career could be in danger." I feel like you're at that point just as liable as Diddy. You're part of the problem. Diddy did, like, these are technically, like, this is humiliation rituals in the truest sense of the term. Are y'all hearing this? These are humiliation rituals. You have victimized everybody in your life. And I'm not even going to talk to you about what I heard that the mom did. I don't even know how you could sell that. That has to be on the dark web. Like, there has to be some dark web connection to this because there's no way you, like, you couldn't market or sell that to regular people. You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of the, like, the Dubai Chronicles, the yacht stuff, where these sheiks or these extremely wealthy, powerful men can't get off doing regular things. So what they do is the most vile. They pay top dollar for the most vile and disgusting things. I bet you those are the type of people who are purchasing these tapes. It has to be some dark web stuff. Like, there's no other way, there's no other explanation for this. I I don't read these before because I want you guys to get, like, I want to read these along with you guys. You're getting a very visceral reaction because this one is even triggering for me. I'll start again. Sherman's and Combs had shown him in a group of men, some of whom were also employed by Combs' company and their related entities. The video of plaintiff being R-worded. He disclosed that Combs and Sherman had a pattern of practice of non-consensually recording women engaging in acts and making those videos available to the public, including by selling tapes as P-words. Bad Boy artist later corroborated in a text message that Sherman used to sell P of him doing this to chicks, and that Sherman did that to a lot of women. Plaintiff's former boyfriend reported that he and other men watched the recording of the plaintiff's R word on a handheld camera while at the Bad Boy studio in New York City. Combs, Sherman, and some of the other men made derogatory comments about the former boyfriend's relationship with plaintiff in an attempt to shame him into cutting ties with plaintiff and to cause her further emotional harm and embarrassment. On information and belief, defendants continued to show the video of the R word to others over the years and throughout the present and or sold the video as P. Plaintiff was shocked and horrified that Combs and Sherman had recorded and publicized the video of them R-wording her. After 2 decades spent trying to heal and distance herself from the experience, Plaintiff was devastated by the news. She felt as if her life had been turned upside down again, and like the R word had been happening again and again, even as she was trying to forget it. She experienced acute psychological distress, plunging into deep depression and having unaliving ideations. She felt intense fear and anxiety and anger. Plaintiff lives with the distress of knowing that the video of her brutal R word is in circulation and that anyone, including her family, friends, and peers, could view it at any time. In a panic, she reached out to Sherman after learning about the tape, hoping to protect herself from further humiliation by convincing him to destroy the tape or provide it to her, but he did not respond. Combs' pattern and practice of violence and abuse, including of drugging, R-wording, and secretly recording his violence against women. Combs has a long history of violence and abuse. This long-standing behavior has enabled by his ownership of and titles at the Combs Corporation and their affiliated entities and the immense wealth and power he has amassed through such business dealings. Among a long list of allegations, in 1996, he was found guilty of criminal mischief for threatening photographer from the New York Post with a pow pow. In 1999, he was arrested and charged with second degree assault and criminal mischief. mischief in connection with the beating of a record executive, and arrested again that same year in relation to a shooting at a club in New York. That female victim has consistently stated that Combs pow-powed her in the face at point blank range. Combs also has a pattern and practice of using his power and influence in the music and entertainment industry to submit people to sexual violence, often drugging his victims and or coercing them to consume drugs and recording the assaults, often without the victim's knowledge, just as he did with plaintiff. In the past year, a number of people have come forward to accuse Combs of sexual assault, violent R words, or sex trafficking. In November 2023, three lawsuits were filed against Combs under the New York Adult Survivors Act. As noted above, Cassie Ventura, an artist signed to Bad Boy, sued Combs in the Southern District of New York for R word and years-long physical abuse, facilitated in part by Combs having supplied Miss Ventura with copious amounts of drugs and urging her to take them beginning in 2006. Combs regularly recorded Miss Ventura engaging in sex acts as he forced her to engage in. Joy Dickerson Neal, who had appeared with Combs in a music video, sued Combs in New York County Supreme Court alleging Combs drugged her, assaulted her, and secretly recorded the assault in 1991. Liza Gardner, whom Combs met at an event hosted by a record label affiliated with Bad Boy, sued him for R-wording her and a friend in 1990 or 1991 when she was only 16 years old. In December 2023, an anonymous plaintiff sued Combs in the Southern District of New York for drugging and gang R-wording her in 2003 when she was only 17 years old. That complaint alleges that Combs and one of his business associates and employees lured the plaintiff to Daddy's house through their affiliations with the Bad Boy Enterprise and its related entities, and R-worded her at the same location where plaintiff was R-worded. In February 2024, Little Rodney Jones and one of Combs' former producers sued Combs for forcing him to engage in unwanted sex acts and sex trafficking, among other allegations. In that complaint, Jones alleges that Combs regularly drugs others, including minors, by giving them alcoholic beverages laced with ecstasy or other date R word drugs, that he believes he himself was drugged by Combs, and that Combs routinely, secretly recorded these encounters. In May of 2024, two more women sued Combs. Former model Crystal McKinney sued Combs in the Southern District of New York for drugging and assaulting her at his recording studio in 2003. Combs had promised to help advance Miss McKinney's modeling career, a promise she believed he would fulfill because of his ownership and titles to the Bad Boy Enterprise and its related entities. April Lampros, an intern at Arista Records, was an owner of Bad Boy, also sued Combs in May of 2024, New York County Supreme Court for R-wording her on multiple occasions, secretly filming at least one of the assaults, and showing the recording to multiple people. Ms. Lampro alleges that Combs ordered her to take drugs on one occasion before he R-worded her. In July of 2024, former adult film star Audrey English, who was employed by Combs as an entertainer at his infamous white parties that brought together the biggest names in the music and entertainment industries, sued Combs in the Southern District of New York for sex trafficking, alleging that he required her to consume drugs laced with ecstasy and secretly recorded the acts as he forced her to engage in. In September 2024, singer-songwriter Dawn Angelique Richard also sued Combs. Richard was employed by Combs as part of the girl group Danny DeCane, formed by Combs and later as a key member of Combs' band Diddy Dirty Money. She sued Combs in the Southern District of New York for assault, false imprisonment, and for subjecting her to hostile working conditions due to her gender, including degrading comments and threats. Ms. Richard has alleged that Combs regularly supplied others, including minors, with copious amounts of drugs and alcohol and subjected them to sexual acts while they were sedated and or unconscious due to the drugs and alcohol. On September 16, 2024, Combs was arrested at a Manhattan hotel after a grand jury indictment on charges of sex trafficking and racketeering. The indictment details for decades Combs abused, threatens, coerced women and others around him to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. It notes that Combs' abuse of women has enabled by the employees, resources, and influence of the multifaceted business empire that he had led and controlled, creating a criminal enterprise whose members and associates engaged in and attempted to engage in, among other crimes, sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. This reads like the mob. The indictment notes that Combs' business was operated at various times in both Manhattan and Los Angeles under a variety of United States-based corporate entities, including Bad Boy Entertainment. According to the indictment, physical abuse by Combs was recurrent and widely known. It notes that Combs assaulted women, including striking, punching, dragging, throwing objects at, and kicking. Combs is also charged with the Combs business, including certain employees, to carry out, facilitate, and cover up his abuse and commercial sex. And the indictment notes that his employees' conduct was facilitated and assisted by Combs' control of the Combs business. Combs has a long history of violence against women, makes him unmistakably clear that his actions, including his attack on plaintiff, have been motivated by gender. Specifically, he has a profound contempt for women and an ongoing practice of denigrating and trying to humiliate them. Combs' treatment of plaintiff accords with his pattern and practice of drugging, R-wording, and secretly recording the women he is abusing. Let's see. The Combs Corporation further enabled Combs and Sherman to commit the crime of violence motivated by gender. Let's see. These are the causes of action. Okay. Wherefore, plaintiff respectfully requests that judgment be entered against defendant as follows: awarding compensatory damages for all physical injuries, emotional distress, psychological harm, anxiety, humiliation, and emotional pain and suffering, family and social disruption, and other harm in the amount to be determined at trial. Awarding punitive damages in the amount to be determined at trial. Awarding attorney's fees and costs pursuant to any applicable state or law. Awarding pre and post judgment interest on all such damages, fees, and or costs, attaching any and all defendant's real property and other assets located in the state of New York, ordering defendant to account for and destroy all copies of all images and videos taken of or in connection with Combs and Sherman's assault of plaintiff that are in their actual or constructive possession, custody, or control, and enjoining defendants temporarily and permanently from further disseminating or publishing any intimate images or videos of plaintiff, awarding such and other further relief as the court may deem proper. Give it all to them. Unfortunately, for the victims who are just filing, they're going to have to go through all of the court cases that were filed earlier. So at this point, the only one that has been settled is Cassie. So Diddy's going to be in court for years, and we're going to see him sitting there in his prison jumpsuit for years. And I will be there. Oh, I don't know if I'm going to be at the court case. Y'all know I do go to court cases. I don't know if I can be at the court case. Again, I've been told that it might not be safe for me to show up there. And so I don't think that I'll be doing that. I don't even think I don't even think that this is over for the day. I would not be surprised if more news breaks. I wouldn't even be surprised if a new lawsuit is filed. The more the feds know, the more the victims will know. So at this point, nothing is unexpected. But you guys can put in the comments. I'm sure that you have a lot to. This was a lot to digest. This was a lot to read. I want to thank you guys for being here. I just think that it's important that the victims' voices are heard. It's extremely important that the victims' voices are heard because we still have people who are saying that Cassie was part of the problem. The more you know. These are humiliation rituals. I feel like this man then sold his soul to the devil at this point. And he got to damn near $1 billion. Remember, being valued at $1 billion does not mean you actually have it liquid cash. Anyway, I gotta go. If anything else pops off, you know I'll be back here. Thank you for all the new subscribers. Hit the like button on your way out and definitely subscribe. Again, we are super close to our goal of 200,000 subscribers. We are less than 1,000 away from 90,000. Hopefully, by the time I come back, you guys will be able to see with me what I'm reading and the streaming software will be working again. So I apologize that you guys didn't get the normal Mims live stream, but have a great day and pray for the victims because they have a long road ahead of them. Diddy being in jail is one thing. Having to put this in lawsuits and get re-victimized all over again is something completely else. So have a good day, guys.